Hi Deepak ji, how are you?
I am good, sir. Shambhai, how about you, sir?
All good,
बर्मा में सर क्या चल रहा है? All good?
all good, all good.
God has to be kind to all of us. Interesting trade. So we'll just start in a minute.
Okay, okay.
Perfect. So first of all, I would like to thank all my supporters for this excellent agriculture roundtable. Today we'll be starting with pulses. Tomorrow, that is 14th of October, we'll be talking about grains. And as we move forward, we will be talking about edible oil on 15th and 16th. We'll be talking about another interesting aspect, which is ethanol and sugar. And we all know that today industry is going through various ups and downs. Like commodity industry has not been the way it used to be. But with all the challenges, I know that this type of roundtables would ensure that actually we get the right perspective of the market and how the market works, and also the viewpoints of different stakeholders who are esteemed panelists. I would also take this opportunity to thank our supporters, HnyB, which is a boutique consulting company working on intersection of agriculture, food, innovation, and technology. Know Your Commodity, which is a platform which connects different stakeholders on agri-commodity ecosystem. Global Grains and Pulses Council, which is a council which works on grain and pulses sector. And also our supporters, our sponsors, because they are have helped us in ensuring that actually we are able to deliver such interesting events on a regular basis. So I would like to thank the Bajrang International Group, Praramb Agri Trading, DMCC, MEIR Commodities, and Bengani Group. All of them, they have been kind enough to support us, and we already have one of our supporters, Jayesh Bhai, here. Thank you, Jayesh Bhai, for joining always and being always kind to us. We have Ankush Jain from Olam. He is again, I would say that always a strong supporter. Shambhai has always been kind that actually whenever I request him to share his knowledge and insight, which is he having deep when it comes to Burma, he's always there. Deepak Rawat ji, thanks a lot for getting up so early in Canada. I know that actually every time I wake you up around 5 to 6 in the morning, but this is the best time. Actually, everybody from different parts of the world can join. And thanks again for joining. And Hiten Bhai, thanks a lot. We are also having Jay Bhai. Jay Bhai is from Australia. So late evening. I hope Jay Bhai is not enjoying his evening parties and coming from the parties would be in the mood to have a, I would say, marathon discussion, because we are having 2 hours of discussion. Uh, I would like to start with a commodity, and we talk about that commodity, and we also have basically supply and demand numbers, which will be shared with you, and we can start deliberating on those numbers. So let me first go to overall perspective. So all of us know that actually, this year we are estimating that the global production for pulses and beans would be roughly 93 million metric ton, which itself is pretty low. We need 119 million metric tons to ensure that normative demand of the global population is taken care of. And we have seen that over past roughly 60 years, we have improved when it comes to our yields from 637 kgs per hectare all the way to 968 kgs per hectare. But again, the improvement is not as per the demand, because demand is increasing far faster at roughly 2.1 CAGR, while our yields improvement is only 0.66%. And if we go by that, we'll need to have 50% more land, which currently actually, pulses take care of 95 million hectares. So getting 50% more land is always a challenge. So we need to definitely improve our yields and see to it that how become more efficient and effective when we are cultivating pulses. Now, coming to India, which has always been at the center of debate on pulses, we are having 1.5 billion people, and all of them, they consume pulses as their key protein ingredient. Unlike rest of the world, where actually, a substantial amount of population get their proteins through animal protein, in India, predominantly being a vegetarian society, we get most of our protein through pulses. And if we see in 2025, it is estimated that we produce 25.2 million metric tons of pulses against 24 million metric tons last year. So we are looking at a drop of roughly 1.2 million metric ton this year, while we'll be importing roughly 5.5 to 5.7 million metric ton this year against 7.3 million metric tons last year. And we consume roughly 29 million metric tons, which is up 1 million metric ton from last year. So if we go by all that, by 2035, we have far more demand of pulses than we are having today. Now, this will give you a basic snapshot of how the pulses sector has been. So global production has been consistently increasing, but we are seeing that post 2020, that growth has tapered down, it has stabilized. So we need more innovation or some drastic transformation, which will ensure that actually by 2035, we produce far more than what we require, or I say what we are producing today. So if we go by the current scenario, we are looking by 2035, we'll be producing 112 million metric ton, which as I shared with you is pretty lower than our demand. Coming to 2025, so this year 93 million metric ton was produced globally. Indian production would be around 25.2 million metric ton. Global trade is roughly 22.6 million metric ton, and India's import would be roughly 5.5 million metric tons. As I'm saying that estimate, because currently it's still we are in 2025, the year is not over. So still we cannot definitively say, because still that the Rabi season in India is very important, which will be sowing is going to happen. And one of the very important, in fact, two very important commodities, which is chickpea and lentils, would be sown and cultivated in Rabi season. Now, this is typically our import basket for India. So if you see that 2020-23, from 2.2 million metric tons, we reached up to 7.1 million metric tons in 24-25. Now, sometime year and internationally, we talk about 2024 or 2025 in India, it is 2024 and 25. So typically, based on the marketing season. So you'll find sometimes there's this discrepancy coming in, because the global numbers would be in 2024, or that's calendar year, and the Indian number would be marketing year. So 2025-26, we are looking at 5.6 million metric ton as import for India. Predominantly yellow peas, you will see a substantial reduction in the imports. Same with desi chickpea, because last year both of these commodities were imported in huge number because of deficiency. Lentils this year we will be seeing some challenge, and we see that again lentils import going back to 2023-24, because in 24-25 government liquidated a substantial amount of their own storages, which they have procured in 21-22. So because of that, we had a reduction in the lentils imported 24-25. But again, 25-26, we see it going back to same. Black mape or urad has been consistently showing increase in imports, predominantly coming from Myanmar. Now we are also seeing roughly 50,000 to 60,000 metric tons coming from Latin America as well. Pigeon pea again, 22-23, we started with 0.7 million metric tons as import, and peaking at 24-25 to number of, to a more roughly 1.2 million metric ton. And 25-26, again, it will be in the same range. More than 1 million metric ton of pigeon pea would be imported. And now coming to pigeon pea, which will the first commodity which we'll discuss. Now these are global numbers. So 2025, the carry was roughly 0.83 million metric ton. Production, which was roughly 4 million metric ton. Global trade was 1.1 million metric ton. And supply was 4.83 million metric ton. Consumption roughly 4.11 million metric ton. And ending stock of, we are looking at 0.72 million metric ton. Now, when come to India, again, we had a pretty decent carry. Predominantly, it was mostly with the government, because government is procured in previous Kharif season roughly 0.60 million metric ton of tuar. Production numbers based on the losses because of rain, we are looking at something around 2.7 million metric ton. Again, as I said, import of close to 1 million metric ton, that puts a supply in comfortable situation of 4.41 million metric ton. With consumption of close to 3.9 million metric ton, we'll still be having ending stock of roughly 0.47 or a half a million metric ton. Now, some key points when it comes to pigeon pea. So Indian crop is shorter than anticipated due to yield losses, as I said, because of untimely rain and a lot of flooding happening in Karnataka, Maharashtra, Gujarat, and eastern Uttar Pradesh, which are predominant belts where the tuar is being produced. And Myanmar crop looks better than previous year. So the central provinces, the key production area, has shown better yields. my own production has been close to 0.35 million metric ton, and exportable quantity would be roughly around 0.32 million metric ton. Africa crop was, as expected, a little shorter. We anticipate the crop to be 0.34 million metric ton in Mozambique, 0.31 million metric ton in Tanzania, and 0.3 million metric ton in the other parts of Africa, all put together. So global production this year, as I said, is anticipated to be 4 MMT, which is 2.70 coming from India, 0.35 Myanmar, and 0.95 from Africa. 95% of region P consumption out of 4 T is from India. Now, let's get into discussion on Pigeon P. So I would start with Sunilji. Thanks a lot for joining. Teb bhai, thanks a lot for joining. Pleasure to see you, both of you. Jayesh bhai, we start with you. Right, Africa has been always being an interesting and most important, part of the world, because close to a million metric ton of production, in fact, more than a million metric ton of production comes from Africa. Sir, your views on that? Do you think these numbers are more or less accurate, or do you think the numbers are very different?
Thank you, Deepak Bhai. I think the number looks to be more realistic, although many conferences, the people have talked about the number about 1.1, 1.2. I would revise those numbers to under a million ton. So now the almost 80% crop is almost harvested, and it's in the hands of the exporter. So to be looking at the Malawi, I don't expect beyond 150,000 tons. Mozambique, I would still say around 350 to 4 max that it will go. Tanzania, as of today, as we speak, I think through the auction is under 200,000 tons has been auctioned. And I see that maximum another 70, 80,000 tons would come. So all in all, the total numbers now we have a clarity in terms of the supply for the 2025. I think it would settle somewhere between 850 to 900 max.
Perfect. Gentlemen, second question to you also, sir. There have been a lot of pressure on the prices. While in this conference, this roundtable, I would try to steer away from too much of a discussion on prices, because, तेजी मंदी आपको भी ध्यान होगा. When I previously 3 years back, I used to go on stage, लोग ये question पूछते थे और मुझे ही मजा आता था. तेजी होगी, मंदी होगी. But I have become now a little bit, I'm saying that more mature, right? आप जैसे लोगों ने सिखाया कि more than the prices, availability is more important, and free availability. Do you see that any changes are required in any policy anywhere in the world for current scenario when it comes to Pigeon P? Because आपको ध्यान होगा 226 we are also having a renewal coming in for the MOU between India, Malawi, Mozambique, and Myanmar.
See, here are one's very strong views, and I think I've been also on and off commenting on a various platform on this thing. See, the trading community, we've been talking a lot about the putting a ban on yellow peas, and that's what we talk mostly about the pulses prices are under pressure. Now, to the best of my knowledge and ability on our pulses, I've been in this trade for more than 30 years. And yellow peas could directly impact the chana and not other pulses. So technically, we haven't seen that correction despite of there's so much pressure of the people have been talking. Your chickpeas is still today, it's been doing quite reasonably well above MSP. And still we have a long way to go with the new crop. New crop would come in the month of May. So I don't see there is any link of the import duty or probably any sort of things. Yesterday also I said the people now, initially we talked very heavily about removing the duty because the consumers are suffering. And now we are asking the government to impose the duty because the Kisan are suffering. I think we got to make up our mind whether the consumers is suffering or the Kisan is suffering. I think that's I will leave all the experts to decide, but that's one particular thing. Now
So, sir, I'll just add here one small thing, Jaj. So I would validate what you are saying with the data. So typically, in November 2023, when yellow peas ban was removed, in fact, it was not banned, it was high MIP and very heavy duty. So logically, there was no way of importing yellow peas in India. After that, till March, the prices of tuber were always high. opening of yellow peas never impacted tuar. Tuar impact was because of high prices, substitution happening with masoor, that is lentils, rather than yellow peas. So I totally backing you with the data that actually, like, yes, the impact of yellow peas on tuar is very minimal. Please, sir,
And
continue.
yeah, and the second point which I would like to also, for the people, see the data what you shared. If we go by the historical data, I think the Indian pulse is, it's growing. The demand is growing about 2.6, 2.67 CAGR, and I think it has reached to about 26, 27. And I think if we go by the current, India, if you talk about the 10 years back India and today, there's a big difference in this thing. 10 years back, we were about 11, 12 economy. Today, we are almost third, fourth economy. The living standard has improved. The consumption pattern has changed. So on tour particularly, why I'm referring, although the most of the people will have the data about this economics, but this is important for us to refer this thing. See, earlier, if you look at the HoReCa sectors, the consumption of HoReCa sectors was hardly about 25, 27%, the thing. And today, the HoReCa sector consumption has gone almost to a 50%, the thing. Because even the tier 2 town, tier 3 towns, the people eating outside, I think, and then what used to be in the past, there's a significant changes being there. And this is also the important factor that you need to know. Now, if you talk about the pigeon peas prices is under pressure, I think this is an important factor also for everyone to know. If you divide the entire consumption into the two part, which is the domestic, which is the desi, and I think we'll club it with the lemon. So the domestic production about 2.7 or maybe 3, whatever you can say, plus the lemon, this is a premium segment. And what leaves is that the 50% is the what you call, say, the HoReCa sectors. Now, if you look at the total demand, if you divide by 2, so in a HoReCa sectors, we have a shortfall of 1 million ton. Because the total consumption, if we all believe that 3.8, 3.9 million tons, we have consumption of tuar, the thing. The prices are under pressure is only because of the lot of MNCs having their own issues and legacy because of yellow peas. Today, there is no one actually is being there to support the tuar. 1.1 million ton crop coming in a month, couple of months. I think that's what has put up the pressure on the thing. Otherwise, if you go by the S&D point of view, there is a gap in tuar specifically, especially on HoReCa sectors. So only two things could happen. Either the current level to go up to the desi levels, or desi has to come down to the Africa level. Now, desi to come down to the Africa level, which is around 51, 52 or 55 today, which is far below to the MSP. So I see that in short term, there could be a correction in the pigeon peas prices. And it will definitely maybe the current level of, obviously, which is still below the MSP, but somewhere closer to the desi.
Perfect, sir. So now I would move to Ankush. So Ankush, you are being an importer, right? Jayesh Bhai has been engaged with Africa exporting. Your viewpoint, I think you've seen some of the numbers which we have shared. Do you think, like, more or less they make sense? And also, like, how do you see it going forward? The availability of pigeon pea or any challenges you see because of maybe, like, we are not looking at a very great crop. In fact, in our number, we have already shown that actually we are looking at roughly 400,000 lesser than the last year. So any challenges you see there?
Hi Deepak ji, am I audible?
Yes, loud and clear.
Great. Hi everyone. So Deepak ji, basically, if I look at your S&D, and I also don't disagree much on the S&D part. That's one part. Secondly, on the crop size, which we are estimating, let's say another 500,000 ton drop from 3.2 to 2.7. I think 15% drop is still early to say anything, because the range which we have seen. So one, which is the sowing. So sowing this year has been more or less similar to the last year. right? And secondly, there are parts wherein they were early sowing. There are parts wherein there was a delayed sowing because of the rainfalls. So the rainfalls which has occurred in the month of September was not that great for the crop, but still, since pigeon pea is a long crop and it's a very strong crop, right? So it has a capacity to hold the, let's say, the impact of the rains. If, let's say, comes with a proper sunshine in another few weeks of, let's say, for the next few weeks. So we have to really see more deeper and closer to the harvest time, which is another 2 months from here. So before, let's say, concluding that there could be a possibility of 500,000 ton drop in case of pigeon peas crop, right? In terms of secondly, with regards to the consumption which you have seen or which you have taken about 500,000 ton more consumption as compared to the previous year. So certainly we believe that the consumption has been improved because of the price level have eventually came down by almost 30 to 40% from the highs. But uh, again, quantifying that number to 500,000 ton is not really easy for me. But yes, we are also taking about 10 to 12% of the increment in the overall demand. Third, with regards to what exactly has happened in the past 2 years because of the yellow peas, what yellow peas have eventually arrived in India and they now being continuously being supplied in India by the foreign countries like Canada and Russia. There are few centers like, let's say, East UP, I would say, let's say Jharkhand, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, and Odisha, wherein we believe that some of the consumption of specific pigeon peas has been replaced or substituted by yellow peas as well. Because if, let's say, if you see in your own slides, we have seen that we have imported about more than closer to 4 million ton of yellow peas in the past 2 years. Since December 2023 till date, we have imported somewhere about 3.9 to 4 million ton. Right. Out of that 4 million ton, the current stocks across pan India is not more than 500,000 ton, which means we have already processed and consumed about 3.5 million ton of yellow peas. Right. So that 3.5 million ton is a very, very big number. That obviously must have substituted commodities out of the overall kitty of 25 to 26 million ton in India as a consumption. So which means it has taken care, it has taken space of almost 12 to 15% of the overall pulses consumption into India, which is huge, right? And being a yellow dal or being a yellow split, right? And closer substitute to chickpeas, closer substitute to pigeon peas in some of the areas, not primarily across because there's a two different characteristics, but in terms of look alike in some of the areas it can replace. So we believe that we have seen some of the replacements of yellow peas, some of the replacements of pigeon peas from yellow peas or by the yellow peas, because of which the consumption increment we really do not see that much increment has been there. So overall, S&D looks bit loose. I believe the S&D looks bit loose, wherein supply is there. And one of the things which Jay sir I just mentioned, and I would really like to agree on that, is that the Horeca consumption has been increasing. So the consumption of Africa pigeon peas is really increasing into India. One, because of the price differential. Two, because of the preference across the Horeca. That is very closely seen into the overall Indian markets. But overall S&D looks still, I would say, loose. If, let's say, government comes up with any policy changes, then probably that can have a different impact. But at this point in time, we are sitting in a situation wherein we already have more than 500,000 ton stocks with the government. We have more than 500,000 ton stocks in India with the stockists, and about, let's say, about 7 to 800,000 ton of the crop is going to come from Africa. That too, that all that crop is going to come before the new crop arrivals, which are going to come in December itself in India. And what I believe, and I think Sham sir will definitely give his views there, larger and deeper. But Myanmar crop is not going to be lesser. For sure, it's going to be similar or higher. So I believe that we are going to enter into a phenomena wherein we are going to have a lot of PGMPs available into India. And this MSP of 80 rupees, it's typically up to the government how, because the government and our honorable minister have clearly declared that they are going to procure whatever quantities are being produced by the farmers in pigeon peas. This is something which we really need to see, because that is where they will have to support the farmers this year, because the gap between the current prices and the MSP is huge.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Ankush bhai. So actually, I totally agree that government has done that. In fact, for pigeon pea, last year also, like, buying 630,000 tons. right, at MSP. They have done it. Also, like, when we compare today's price with this year's MSP, right, I think there is a little bit of, I say that, not correct comparing apples to oranges, right? Once this Kharif harvest start, then what is going to MSP, like, I think that is where the important part would be. And the highest it goes by November or December, that will decide, because at time of arrival, definitely there is bound to be, because of high arrivals, like, some correction, irrespective of crop is short or long. Now, I would also like to go from Africa itself. Guru, if you are here, uh, I think you are here, but your camera is not on. If you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, Guru. So, Guru, your views on Africa, and how do you see Tanzania? And like, while everybody talk about, like, Tanzania is already done with the 2 lakh tons of auction happening, but the anticipation was that the crop to be around 3 lakh tons or 300,000 tons. How do you see that there would be another 100,000 tons, or do you think the border trade has taken care of some part of it?
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, around, as per the official numbers as of today, it's around 195,000 tons as sold in the auction. I don't think there's another 100,000 tons left, to be very honest. Hardly we can get another maybe 20 to 25,000 tons we're expecting in the auction. Balance has been taken care of, like the border trade and some other ways of trade, and there's caused some cargoes to go out. Yeah.
How do you see, like, going forward, like, the enthusiasm in the trading community and farming community, because prices has not been very, very firm this year, while I think chickpeas has given better return to the farmers and the trading community than the pigeon pea. Did you see that impacting going forward in the next cycle?
Tanzanian farmers have seen a lot worse than this. So in that way, I think they're a bit strong. So we have tried our best to support prices. In some regions, the prices have been good. It has touched like 1,000 shilling, which is psychologically helps, like in the regions of Arusha and Bariadi. So those 1,000 shilling prices help to motivate the entire community to, because as a farmer group, you like how you see low numbers and high numbers. So at the end of the season, that's what comes across. So the high numbers of 1,000 plus also comes across. So we still feel that there will be hopes for the next year. It's not like the farmer communities will avoid the crop entirely. But yes, if this rate continues to sustain for another year or so, then you can see some reduction in the farming communities to switch the crop to another crop, because there are other alternative crops here. They have a lot of options for local crops to be grown as well. But Desi has given some good support. And like I said, the other regions of cargo like Bariadi and Arusha has given some price support. And to be honest, here the cargo is almost finished. So now we are just winding up our season at the moment. So we're looking forward for the extension of the dates on the tour imports. We hope that gets extended, or otherwise we also hope that Tanzania secures a MOU and becomes part of that MOU list. Because I don't think Tanzanian farmers are ready for another disaster year where India decides to not import, and Tanzania here produced and waiting for India's open port. So that's the issue there. But apart from that, it's been okay here. We expected worse, but there's been good demand. Where every time there's a lower price, the demand comes in, then it goes up again. Then again there's resistance, but again, so it's been good for the trading, I guess. It's at a lot lowest rate.
Fair enough. No, you talked about MOU. Do you think there would be also having a repercussion in case the MOU doesn't get extended? Do you think that would be impacting in the morale of the farmers who are growing this pigeon pea?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think you mentioned, and I think it's fairly obvious, 95% plus cargo is imported in India, tur, especially the African quality tur. So if India does not buy, then we literally don't have any other options to sell. And I remember last time we sold through.
MOU and buying. See, buying, as I said, we'll consistently need 1 million metric ton always, right? Coming from any part of the world. I'm just saying that MOU or no MOU, does it impact? Because see, it's a OGL.
No, actually, as long as the market is open, it doesn't matter to the farmer if it's MOU or not. As long as we have the traders purchasing the cargo, that's what they want. But what we know as traders is that we cannot go out and enforce the farmers to cultivate and harvest more when we are not secured of our markets. So those are the back steps that a lot of exporters and big communities and big stakeholders are avoid doing because of the lack of MOU. See, there's no big investments going into the pigeon peas farming in Tanzania because of the lack of MOU. Traditional farmers keep farming, but you will not see a new big investor going into it as a large scale farming because of this lack of MOU. So that's what is there's a difference. So in Tanzania, I know if with the MOU, I think like there'll be more investment in that particular cargo. So we can even expect to increase our production because we've been falling behind because we've been at one point higher than Mozambique, and now it seems like Mozambique is significantly higher than Tanzania. So, and I think that what happened in that fire 2016-17 is a big reason for that. To get back the production to around this figure itself was hard enough for the government. And it's been with great efforts that it has reached to this 300,000 tons that we're speaking of right now.
Fair enough. Now, see, actually, I always believe that there is also indirect import tax also through TMX, right? The charges are pretty hefty. It is not like, for 600, 700, even 800 shilling auctions, right? The prices goes as high as 180 to 200 shilling, which is a substantial percentage of the trade. Hiten, coming to Hiten Bhai, right, the Mozambique is dependent on your logistic to bring all the cargo to India. How do you see things going on, working out in Mozambique? Is everything comfortable, Mozambique?
I think, this year, however this year started, as in, with all the bleakness and darkness, things have now come to a very standard theoretical trade that happens generally. From my perspective, you've got a right kind of price at the Africa. With that, the people are interested to buy here. Or trader expects some kind of margin, and that is where we are today from the 2025 crop point of view. Although yes, the numbers that you've said show that there is nothing to be expecting the prices to go up from here. But I'll come back to the fact where and probably take from where Jayesh Bhai is saying and what others also might feel is that today the industry has been, at least in the last 12 months or 18 months, industry has been driven by sentiments more than the fundamentals. And if we have to come mathematically, if we have to come to a right number, if we have some kind of formula, I don't know. Nobody has that kind of formula. I'm just giving an arbitrary idea that if you have all parameters and you put a punch number and an equation, the number that needs to come for the kind of products or the values that we have right now, the prices are kind of low below that. I mean, that is what I personally feel. And there is definitely a correction that might come for the African pigeon peas, because if we look at the historic numbers, the African pigeon pea is always on a disparity, but it's never been so hugely disparate, gap or discount as it has been in the last probably 2 years, or at least in the last 12 months. So that expectation is definitely there. Having said that, short window, a lot of cargo coming in. You've got bulk vessels, you've got containers, all kind of shippers playing part. So a lot of moving parts here, and that is one of the reasons why you don't expect the buyers to really come up. And today, at least from the buyer's perspective, it is like this: you always going to be having an offer if you really want to buy. If you don't want to buy, you can still wait, watch out. So, if you look at the sentiments, that the fear is definitely dropping now, but some kind of fear is still there. Maybe that is more to do also with the cash crunch that is coming in the industry level. I think with the kind of losses that people have booked in various products, including pigeon peas, also maybe yellow peas, chana, all put together. If you kind of put some government to have some Vikas Yojana for traders, it might not be wrong, because that is a number of relief package the industry would require to really start cropping up. So again, coming back to the idea that yes, there is some bleakness, some darkness, which is going away, but from fear to changing that to hope, that is still not seen now. Personally, I feel probably that might happen by mid-November, or at least when we get to know the right kind of numbers. What is the production number in India? It is 2.73 or 2.4 after the rains have gone and with the clear weather and people start coming with actual numbers. Then people will start coming in. The traders, the speculators will start again getting to next in, because at the end of the day, this is always going to be their business. People who've lost money will also want to make money from the same product generally. So that's when people will start coming back, when you get some good, good parameters coming in, good informations coming in, and that's where the fear will change to hope. And today millers are not stocking, millers also want to stock, so automatically there will be even out, and that's the supply chain from Africa till the actual consumer. Everybody will be leveled out. Today you'll have more stock at the African side, you'll have some more stock at the importer side, and very few stock going forward. So that's where the pressure is. The selling pressure will keep coming. This needs to be ironed out to actually become a proper supply chain end to end, and then the prices to be stabilized. Right now, at least in the far 1 month prior to this and going forward, people don't expect the prices to go down. But yes, like many agree, and even Guru was saying that when the prices go up, there is a resistance. So technically, yes, the resistance breaks at least 2 3 rupees or 4 rupees going up from here can be expected. So that's what where I am.
No, so without commenting on the price part of it, let me just work on our own estimates for India, right? Estimates are that it is gonna be far lower than the last year. How much is a question mark? Yes, tuar is a robust crop, which is long crop, right? And definitely, a good weather coming in October, whatever October is remaining, or November or December, will definitely help the crop to improve. But at the same time, it is not going to be same as last year. That's given, right? Now, whether that deficit is of 8%, 10%, or 15%, that is the only question. So 8% definitely, it is given, right? So you are losing a couple of 100,000 tons for sure. That's given. We might also see a delay in harvest. So that is another point where actually, it's just not about the quantity. We might also see delay. Third is that actually even the quality, what Desi used to have, right, preference was because the OTR used to be better, right? Now that is also going to be coming into suspect. I think Guru Bhai, you have raised your hand. Do you wanted to say something, sir?
No, sorry, I had clicked it by mistake. So
Perfect. So from Africa, let me move to the most important region when it comes to Pigeon Pea. Shyam bhai, your views, sir. Actually, we are this year we are dependent on Myanmar, and always Myanmar is happy to support India. So your views on, sir. Actually, we have estimated the crop to be around 3.5 million 100,000 tons, equivalent to last year. Our last year number was also same. So there is no delta. We are saying that the crop, if anything, we are seeing 3 to 4% improvement than the last year. Your view, sir, Shyam.
See, the current year, 2025 crop was around 360,000 tons, which was actually very close to your estimate, 3.5 million tons, 3.5 lakh tons. But for the coming year, I mean 2026, I take it as a calendar year because the harvest time is almost January, December end to January. So I take 25 crop is 360,000 tons. For 2026, I expect 10 to 15% increase in the production of pigeon peas, despite the whole year how it went, everybody knows. With pigeon peas price coming from 115 top level to 58, I think it touched bottom, which is almost 50% price. It was in heavy sale during the in 2025, but I think this sale is over now. I personally feel because like in 24 when there was the rumors or what to say, it was overhyped that the Indian is very much short in pigeon peas and the price went to 115 rupee per kg. And this year it was hyped that there is oversupply. Like Jais Bhai told that people were saying 1.2 million ton production in Africa, but the real numbers, as you mentioned, 8.5 to 9. I too believe that these numbers are actual and correct numbers. And even in India, like people were saying 3.5 million ton production, but the actual production is, as we all know, because of the way it will be coming down. So I think the sale is over and TGNPs from here should recover, demand should come. And all when I see after this Diwali period when all the mills are start operating in full swing, say 100% capacity, the demand do comes from the millers and then same from the consumers also. This price will attract consumers definitely. Almost 25% less than MSP is very cheap price, very cheap price.
And sir,
Yes.
actually, as you rightly mentioned, that there is a possibility of pretty strong, recovery or a higher yield coming in Myanmar. Uh, as you also mentioned that, there was I would say, a house sale, right? Every wanted to, want to buy pigeon pea. Maybe, there was time, a lot of people even told me that actually you should not be surprised if pigeon pea find parity with yellow peas, right? Luckily, unfortunately for all of us, it doesn't happen. Going forward, sir, again coming to this very important aspect, on policy part of it, MOU, sir, how important will MOU will be, right, for the future trade, sir? Because I think Myanmar MOU is also getting expired in 2026.
Well, personally, I don't feel MOU is a good concept. Actually, the trade should be free. It should be OGL policy. MOU is, I don't feel comfortable in MOU. You are restricting something. You're restricting the trade. The trade, like especially the commodity trade, should be free. Every country knows how much they have to produce. So why restricting to say 300,000 ton or 400,000 tons? Let it free. They will grow as per their as per the demand. No country wish to make a production more than the demand. So why restricting? So MOU, yes, okay, it's a sort of what to say guarantee that okay, this minimum quantity we want to buy, which was there for the past 5 years, almost means it is coming to an end 31st March 26, but not a single ton was traded in MOU from Myanmar. So I feel MOU is not a very healthy thing for the market. It should be open policy, OGL always, because okay, MOU can protect the farmers, but what about the consumers? Almost 100% people are consumers. So we also have to think of the consumers. They have the right to eat whichever origin dal they want to eat. So I think OGL should is a better way, and every country knows African, even Myanmar or even Argentina, Brazil, the new growers, they should know what is the actual demand and they should uh, grow their product accordingly as per the demand. That's the better
Perfect.
option.
I totally agree with you. And sir, actually, any update on this Kayat versus INR trade? Because we have been talking about interoperability between Indian currency and Burmese currency, but that's not happening. And actually, that is also one of the area which is of concern because the prices are official prices and actual street prices are not matching up. Is any move forward on that, sir? Because I think you have been a champion of trying to get it done. And any way forward in that? And any success?
See, the Indian embassy in Myanmar is trying very hard. They put lot of efforts. Means even my association, Overseas Agro Traders Association, we have also tried very much that it should start. But unfortunately, the exchange rate which is offered by Myanmar to the exporters is not very attractive. Some of them said that 6 to 8% is the difference between the exchange rate. In today's world, the commodity trade is just 1 and 2%. Who will lose 8% and do this trade? So practically, I think it's not possible. It's not getting possible. So we have to wait and see for the Central Bank of Myanmar to give a better price to the exporters. For the time being, this rupee trade, I don't think it's going to be very successful the way it is moving. But I must appreciate the efforts of Indian Embassy in Myanmar. They are trying very hard. Even my association has also tried too much, but because of the exchange rate gap, it is not working.
Perfect. Jeshbhai, you have raised your hand. Any input, sir?
Pardon?
Sorry. Yeah. Devabhai, yes, I have a couple of, just things, you've been talking a lot to the government and also many platform. And I think you asked everyone, especially Shyam Bhai and the Guru Bhai about the MOU. I would like to say that the prices current, we all talk about the current prices in a context of the historically high price, to be honest. Historically high price of 100, rupees, that's not the price for the pigeon piece, to be honest. And in fact, that was a two adverse effect. One adverse effect is that obviously it is a political ground that pulses is not available for the consumer. In real term, if you look at that, what is low here in our stage is the consumption of the pulses. Today, we all know that the per capita consumption of is hardly 36, 37 gram, which is far below to the developed nations about 90 WHO recommended or probably the 120 gram. So I think that if you talk of the numbers where actually we are down is on the consumption of the pulses, which is there, rather than we talk about this specifically, the prices are low for the pulses. I think low prices should actually help the thing. And second thing, 55, 65 is just that government, in 2016, as a drastic move, they pushed the prices of MSP to 80 rupees. Frankly speaking, MSP of 80 rupees is very high. And I think that is where the if you consider the MSP of 80 rupees and then you try to convert the dal cannot be less than 135, 140. And for God forbid, if that number reaches in a market, probably we'll have a lot of outcry from the media and everyone, the thing. So the whole particular point that we really need to come up, or government needs to come up, what is the expansive pulses? To honestly speaking, that 80 rupees for the pigeon peas will have a huge cry in the government. Media and everyone will say that because 80 rupees per pulses, if you try to convert into a dal, it will cost you by the end of it reaches to the consumer's hand, it will cost 135, 140, and which is very high at the moment.
Perfect, perfect. So now I would like to go to Sunil Bhai, your views on the crop in Myanmar. Shyam Bhai has already shared, you also like in that region pretty active. Your views, sir?
Yeah, hi, good evening, everybody. So my views are quite similar with Shyam, as he's definitely a super expert there. So the last year crop is close to 350K, which is in line with your numbers and the current numbers. And the good part is, I was talking to some of the prominent traders in Myanmar last week, and currently we are like 70% sold out, and they have capacity to hold at least 10 to 20%, which they carry over every year. So in Myanmar, in terms of Turol, what quantities are left, it's nothing much which will put any pressure. So that is one point which I wanted to add. Like we are almost, say about 270,000 tons already, close to that, 260,000 ton already exported. And we are left with say 90,000. So among 90,000, maybe 10 to 20,000 they will be needing for seeding, and maybe another 20, 30,000 they can hold. So we don't have anything much left in Myanmar as far as old crop is concerned. New crop, yes, overall has been a decent year. So there are the areas where Turol is grown, it is primarily Turol. So we don't see much increase or much decrease because the policy was consistent. So farmers will be encouraged to grow. So that is more on Turol. And as far as Mape is concerned, yes, we still have a crop there, almost like 300, 350,000 tons, which is still remain. And the exports are good, but not like enough for next 2, 3 months. It will be, and again, new crop is also coming up. So we expect the crop to be, there'll be a carryover. But again, whether the price will remain or not remain, it again comes to fundamental and sentiments. If you ask me, fundamentally, things are bullish because India pipeline is empty, demand is there, rain has been there, crop has been not so good, so-called not so good, and the sentiments are like super, super, super low because price have come down, which were not realistic. Definitely 1,005, 1,006 for tour, and Mape around similar levels are not realistic, but it has come down. So people have lost money. And when people lose money as a human tendency, people tend to go slow. They feel that they have stock, so let me sell this stock before I buy a new one. So people feel that demand has come down. No, demand has not come down. Demand is there. Black market demand, people eating dosa and papad and vade and all those, they are still eating. That has not come down. In fact, the demand has been growing gradually. And if you see internationally, like I travel a lot, if I talk about 5 years back and now, the vegan community has grown drastically. And pulses is playing a vital role in vegan community. Because if you want protein, If people are lactose intolerant, you cannot have paneer. People impossible meat, soya, it's not as tastier as pulses. So the awareness is coming up, and if it is vegan, then the pulses plays a very important role, which you can see in any part of the world now. Like Japan, if you go a few years back, I went with Jayesh Bhai about 10, 12 years back when I was part of ETG. We couldn't see pulses, but now if you go to any vegan restaurant, they are cooking pulses. So there is a lot of vegan demand there. So as far as crop is concerned, crop is stable, good. Black Mape this year 1 million ton, next year.
Sir, Sunil bhai, Black Mape, I'll continue with you. Let me share the SND of Black Mape, and
Yeah.
then we take that discussion forward. So let's conclude the Pigeon P here. Like, it has been always, I think, like, taking too much of mind space than anything else in pulses. So let's move with the Black Mape. So again, these are the global numbers. So what we are seeing is that in 2025, the carry was very limited, like, hardly 120,000 tons was there. Production, we are more or less looking at 2.74 million metric tons, and global trade of roughly just below a million metric tons, 0.92 million metric ton. Supply comes out to be 2.86. Consumption, again, pretty decent, as you rightly said, Sunil, but like, those who want to eat medu vadas and, like, or in typically, like, South Indian origin people, right? They are a large consumer of udad, and they don't change. Udad is very difficult to replace by anything. So again, we are looking at, like, the end of the season stock would be lower than what it was this year. Coming to India, we had hardly any carry. Production, actually, like, in India, udad is produced both in Kharif and Rabi. Kharif, we are seeing pretty serious challenges currently. Both acreage has reduced, and also, like, there is a serious crop losses there. But at the same time, because the prices has been maintained, right, and it is a short duration crop, unlike tuar, we see that actually Rabi sowing would be a little bit better. Imports, we are looking at, like, 0.91 million metric tons as import. So again, at the end, we would be left with hardly any carry for Black Mape. So Black Mape is always a big risk for when it comes to India, because we have serious challenge with the availability of that. So as I said, Indian Kharif crop will be low at 1 million metric ton or even lower, which means we might see a dip in production. The shorter Kharif crop and good price will lead to higher sowing in Rabi. Rabi sowing was slow, and we anticipate 0.7 million metric ton in Rabi, and summer crop of 0.1 million metric ton completes the production. Expect a large crop from Myanmar as acreage has improved, hence imports will increase. That is what we are anticipating, that overall 0.9 million metric ton from Myanmar, and roughly, like, sorry, it's a typo, 60,000 tons, that is 0.06 MMT from Latin America. Myanmar crop we anticipate to be 0.95 MMT, with Latin America crop to be anticipated at 0.09 MMT. The global production, as I said, 2.74, that completes it. So let me go back to you, Sunil bhai. Like, what is your view on, sir, Udad, the Black Mape?
Yeah, so udad, there is a sufficient supply, and there is a sufficient demand. We don't see any emergency as far as Latin America is concerned. Brazil last year, like this year, they will end up exporting close to 150,000 ton plus. So if there is a demand, they will grow more. And if they cannot sell much, they won't grow more. So I expect Brazil crop might go from 150K to 200K easily if India continuously buy and if policies are stable. So we'll have like
Sunil bhai, just a small question here. Like, there is because we churn a lot of data. The Brazilian exporters are talking about, like, possibility of 150,000 metric ton of export, and in last month they have shown to be 30,000 metric tons of export. The Indian government's portal in import doesn't show that number. So there is a discrepancy where actually, like, our data, import data, shows a very, like, minimal, I think, crop coming from Brazil. But when it comes to Brazil showing their export, that got inflated. So that has confused a lot of people.
Yeah, that may be the case, but overall, Brazil production definitely will be over 100,000. And
Okay.
Brazil is growing more and more, and the crop quality is good. And, it can easily grow up to 1.5 lakh. And
Yeah, because when we did, like, traders or, like, grower survey in some of the specific areas of Brazil, our estimate came to something around 90,000 metric tons of production, right?
Okay.
And they'll need a part of it as seed also. But again, Brazil is, I say that it's upcoming area, so not too much. I'm saying capabilities are there to estimate there. But I'll go with you, like, Brazil, if prices are good, can definitely grow. Please continue, sir.
Yeah, so that is the surplus. Plus, Myanmar say close to 1 million ton and carry over this year at least 100 to 150,000 ton exportable quality. So there might be close to 1.1, 1.2. That total number will be available. But again, we have different markets like Pakistan, Middle East, and Nepal, and nowadays China also started buying black mape. So there are some alternate markets where it will go, but we have sufficient supply and there'll be a sufficient demand. So price should remain stable from here. And as you rightly said, India pipeline is empty. So there will be continuous demand for good quality. Yeah.
Right. Shamba, your views on Black Mape, Urad?
My views are almost similar. Like your numbers, that Myanmar crop you estimated 9,50,000 ton. My view is around 1 million plus a little, maybe 1 million 30, 40 or 1 million 50,000 ton. Because the main crop which comes, which is harvested in February, March, that is somewhere around 1 million ton. And we should not forget in month of November end to December, there is a small crop from the northern part of Myanmar which is around 50,000. Last year it was 70, 80,000 tons. So, but still we are anticipating to be 50,000. If it is more, then there will be a good supply from Myanmar. We can see the price can fall. But seeing all the numbers, seeing the Kharif output, means Kharif output was estimated to be around 1.5 million. But like I follow Mr. G. Chandrasekhar. As per him, it is around 1.1 million. As per my sources, it is 1.15 million. As per your idea, it is 1 million. So the
So it will
numbers
be
are
lower
less.
than, sir,
And
I've been on myself on the ground, right? I've
Mhm.
met farmers, I've understood, we have done a lot of work on Udad. And believe me, like, with a very, very heavy heart, I have to put 1 million ton because otherwise it will create panic, right? Even that number can get challenged. So there was a
So if
resowing.
even
So there was a resowing
Mhm.
because when the sowing happened, there was a bad spell, and the farmer had to do the resowing, right? And we all know that the resowing crop is always not as quality wise or robust, right? Forget SQ, FAQ being like, it becomes a challenge. Secondly, like, being a short duration crop, the revival in case something goes wrong is very difficult in Urda. And again, sir, it is blessed by Shani Maharaj, राइट सो जाती है तो बहुत ही नीचे जाती है और ऊपर जाती है तो बहुत ही ऊपर जाती है I see a challenge frankly, like, I'm only worried about Urad, and you have given us like comfort that Myanmar is having sufficient quantity, right? That gives me a little bit of hope. But I was concerned, and in fact I've shared my concern with the government department also, like, Urad can be a little bit of a challenge this year.
Yes, yes. I totally agree. But for the new crop, say to 2026 crop, I'm bit doubtful that MEMA will grow these numbers because this is the sowing time. Just miss immediately after Diwali, our Diwali, their sowing time starts because rice is harvested and then the field is left for say 30 days and then urad and moong sowing is done. The current price for urad is not very promising for the farmers. They will prefer more to grow mung beans, green mung beans, than urad. So my estimate is for 2026, I don't see black mapte crop more than 9 lakh tons and mung will be increasing. So it's again a matter of concern that Indian numbers are down and I don't expect Myanmar numbers to be much. So somewhere in February, January end and February, I think the market should improve. As you say, Shani Maharaj will be active again for Urad and the downfall is over for I think all the commodities, but maybe because of the good supply from Myanmar, I think the supply will be there for next couple of months, good supply because we are still left with over 4 lakh metric tons and then 50,000 tons is expected in December. So we are here with say 4 lakh 50,000 tons for the next 3 months, 4 months. After that, when the MEMA supply will be less, we will be waiting for the new crop, and also the Indian new crop will be finished. The supply will be less. Market can revive. Definitely, it will revive. And 2026, I think, as per me, it will be the year of Urad. Definitely, it's going to be in good demand.
Right. Tayyab bhai, do you want to comment on Urad and demand in Pakistan on Urad?
Can you hear me, Deepak bhai?
Yes, Tayyab bhai. Thanks a lot for joining.
Thank you for the opportunity. Yes, indeed, Pakistan is regularly importing black mafia because unfortunately we do not grow it in our country. Even if it is grown, it's very, very limited. And roughly between 50,000 to 75,000 tons we import. And sometimes in a year of drastic shortage, we've gone as high as 95 to 100,000 tons. But on average, it's somewhere between 50 to 75,000. And this year we've seen some South American black mafia also coming in. Usually it was just from Myanmar. And prices have been stable overall. They follow the international trend. The traders who've got it in so far have not lost too much money in this compared to other commodities. So, I mean, black mafia has so far been a decent return for the traders, I would say. So, yeah, Pakistan is a small market relatively, but at least it still has a presence as far as Myanmar is concerned. I think it's a significant player over there other than India. I think this is the second biggest market for Myanmar.
Perfect. So now let us go to next commodity, right? Which will interest our friends from both Australia as well as Canada. And so this is where actually we look at the global numbers for red lentils. So we all know that lentils are green, red, and so many different colors. We are trying to restrict ourselves with red lentils. So there was a decent carry actually, like of a million metric ton in 2025. Production, our estimate is roughly 4.8 million metric tons. Global trade of roughly 2.5 million metric tons. So that gives a pretty decent supply number of 5.85 million metric tons. Consumption roughly 4.83, and still we'll end the year with a decent carry. Coming to India, we had some carry. I would not say that because the NAFED and the government which was having the previous procured imported masoor, we have liquidated a substantial I would say quantity out of that. And the production actually, this year, though actually the sowing is yet not started, right? But we see overall the intentions when we see with the farmer, it is not very great. Unlike in China, we have seen that irrespective of whatever happened, yellow pea duty or no duty, farmer is upbeat to grow chickpeas. But in the lentils, we have found a serious change of intentions when it comes to farmer. So we see again, the import surging back to the old numbers, right? Because in 24-25, because government liquidated a lot of their existing cargo, including from 21, 22, 23, and even 24. There was less pressure, but this time it seems like, because not much is with the government, right? There would be renewed import. Consumption is gonna be a little bit lower than last year for very simple reason that some substitution has happened for pigeon pea because prices were very high initially part of 24-25. So, but again, coming back, we think the prices taper down. So there will be some little bit of correction, but Horeca sector still will remain a strong buyer of masoor. So there is a good supply situation with ample stock. Canada and Australia both jointly have potential to export close to 3.2 MMT plus red lentils. Australia is expected to have 1.5 MMT production of red lentils out of 1.78 MMT total. And while Canada total lentils production will be close to 2.6 MMT, out of which we think 1.7 MMT is expected to be red lentil. With limited existing stock and anticipated decline in production, Indian imports might see a sharp jump, and also the government holding liquidated demand may build up. Overall, total lentil production this year looks robust, with North America producing close to 3.2 MMT. So this is now we are talking about the whole of lentils, not just red, followed by Australia, India, and Turkey. So global lentils, all types might be range of 6.2 to 6.5 MMT. With this, I would like to go straight away to first Deepak Rawatji. So Deepak bhai, your views, initial comments on lentils, sir, because you cover from Canada all the way to the Black Sea to Australia. Your initial views and comment on lentils. How do you see them?
So, hi, hello everyone, and happy Thanksgiving from Canada to everybody. So, it's a federal holiday in Canada today.
Oh, wow.
So, so Deepakji, to start with the red lentils, like I would say, like this year, especially for pulses and most of the crops, has been an year of abundance. Like you can see that the supplies have grown a lot, mainly because of more acreage as well as good production. Like wherever you see, you talk about Russia, you talk about Canada, you talk about Australia, you talk about even Brazil. Most of the producing countries, we have seen like good production on an average. Coming back to the lentils, especially from let me start with Canada. So Canada, like when you look at the initially last year, like that people thought Canada would produce less, but the weather god has been very benign to Canadian farmlands this year, the prairies we call. And we have seen about 20% more acreage and production increased by almost like 25%. So in some of the areas, like we have seen, record yields, especially in red lentils, like which you can say historically I mean, second to the highest numbers which Canada has ever seen. With regards to so this has not only like that, and secondly when you look at the the price pattern, like we go back 1 year, like if I remember correctly, towards the end of August, we saw that there has been a decline in the prices, especially which was started by Tuor, followed by Desis, and then we have seen a great decline. So what has happened, like the demand has gone down. The demand has been reduced because people are not even expecting these type of falls to happen. We have seen massive falls in last few months. So it's been 1 year. First few months of this year was very, very dull in terms of like inactivity. People were not even aware like what to buy, when to buy, things like it. With regards to, so here, like against the expectations of most of the traders in our industry, the Canadian farmers, they've increased these production. So their major reasons were like they still get better margins in lentils compared to other crops. That was one of their major this. Secondly, they had a lot of issues with China, like say on yellow peas, on canola, on tariffs with US. But this lentils was one of their, because India is traditionally one of their main markets, Canadian producers or farmers. So this is where they have increased a lot. Now, in general, like so in general, to give you an idea, I 100% agree with your figure of production when we talk about close to 1.7. So which delta, if I talk about the delta, which is almost like 500,000 tons of more production compared to last year. So we are talking about only red lentils of 500,000 tons more production this year with a carry of about 500,000 tons. So the supplies we are talking about close to 2.2, 2.3 million tons of only red lentils Canada this year. With regards to the stock or the current supply situation, we have seen a couple of vessels coming to India from Canada, which is roughly like 1.2 million tons. But in general, Canada has exported so far 2.5, not 2.5, I would say 250,000 tons of red lentils so far in this season, in last 2 months or so. Uh, so this is a nutshell about what is happening in Canada. Coming back to Russia, like of course, like until last year we were talking about Russia, Kazakh, because they are not they are becoming bigger producers and exporters of red lentils. So Russia alone produces close to about 250,000 tons of red lentils. Kazakh, depending on year to year, at least between 350 to 500,000 tons. So we are talking about at least 500 to 700,000 tons of red lentils production coming out of Black Sea area. People are not talking about Black Sea this year because the type of prices we have seen in Australia and Canada, makes them, that the bench runner, like, the backbenchers, because when we talk about the prices are still like that. So in general, you talk about production. Production has been huge. There is no dearth of the supply. Now it's all about the prices and the demand. If demand is there, then definitely we will see, But the only thing is, this year we have not seen any red lentils coming out of Black Sea to India or the subcontinent, because they are mostly going towards the Mediterranean and Turkey, which are basically they prefer to buy from those areas. So in general, yes, I agree with your figure of lentils overproduction. The prices are under pressure, and if demand does not come, we will see some more pressure in times to come.
And then Deepak, actually, we have been lucky in the sense, not lucky is a wrong word. I would say that because lucky for someone is unlucky for someone else, right? In India's the lack of intention of the farmer because of the obviously for the price reasons, right? And also very high moisture, right? Makes sowing difficult in some of the area where the lentils is grown in India. Comes at a godsend. Otherwise, in case we are also, if we would have seen as the 1.6, 1.7 million metric tons of production, then that could have been, I would say, bloodbath when it comes to pricing. Jay, bhai, I'll come to you. How does Australia looks like?
So this year we've also had a similar situation like Canada and everybody else. The sowing and acreages have definitely increased in all pulses. The crop is looking fantastic. The yields are looking better. Last year we were looking at the similar crop, but then in the late during harvest period we had frost and lack of rain, which decreased the yield tremendously from almost expecting to 1.1. This year we haven't seen that, though. Although there is a little bit of conversation that the moment that's happening, whereby there are certain areas that is lacking some rain. So we are only waiting for that one rain. If we get that one rain of 10-20 mm, we'll have a best finish for the lentil crop as well. In saying that, we are still about 3-4 weeks away from harvest. And that's going to make a little bit of significant difference, because the yield can go better or it can come down, which will, depending on that, will make the total production value commodity of the lentil coming up around anywhere like you have presented to 1.5, 1.6 to even 1.8, 1.9. South Australia is doing very well. We have a really good crop this year in South Australia. Last year, we only harvested about 500,000 tons to 600,000. This year, we anticipate South Australia to get close to around 900,000 tons to 1 million tons itself. So the yield is looking very good. The crop is looking very good. There are certain parts of South Australia that is going to harvest within the next 2 weeks as well. So overall, the crop in South Australia is looking good. But in Victoria, which is another part, which is where the farmers have not yet started seeing the flowering, they haven't really started seeing the lentil crop. It's not that bad. It's not end of the world. They're still going to have a good crop. It will be better than average. It will be far better than average. But I don't think this year we will break Canada's record of 2.5 million tons. But we will be probably close to around this 1.7, 1.8 million tons. I think we should have lentils. Carryover stock, there's nothing left. Whatever is left, we are literally at the bottom of the barrel, scraping anything that's available to ship it out, as prices are still giving a little bit of value in the recent shipments. One good advantage that we have over Canada is the freight rates from Australia to India subcon is far better than getting from Canada. So containerization shipments from Australia is a lot more favorable and has been getting a lot more demand comparatively. So hence there has been regular requirement for the product, and I think lentils trade will continue happening. There is only a fear about whatever is going to happen with the duty structure, if there is any duty or if something coming up, which is probably keeping the trade flow a bit more restricted. But apart from that, I think the lentils is looking good. It should come out in the next 2-3 weeks, and for the trade point of view, the price point of view is pretty average. I think that will be a good year for trade. Not sure about Australian farmers, but definitely for the Indian consumption market and the rest of them. So overall, I think from the trade perspective, I think this price parity makes it very good for the overall trade to continue and flourish for the rest of the year.
Definitely, Jay actually rightly pointed out about the duty and the fear around the duty, whether duty comes or not. I don't think government is going to take any action in knee-jerk reaction sort of thing. We have already seen that generally we do this 2 roundtables. One is towards the end of Feb and one early October, for very simple reason. By that time, we already have the government estimates also coming. For example, like, for Rabi in Fab and for Kharif in by October. We have not seen that happening so far. So I would say that understanding the current government, and they've been very smart. Like, we have been all making hue and cry about duty or no duty, irrespective of which part we were standing. Government has been tactfully been able to maintain the inflation, right? And definitely those who have seen Fusion P at 139 and Urda at 120, they would not find this to be comfortable, the current numbers. But I think government has done a pretty decent job. And when they see that the lentils, we cannot live without at least 1 million metric ton. Forget about anything. At least 1 million metric ton, we'll need it from somewhere of the right, whether it's Canada, whether it's Australia. Now, putting a very, I'd say, steep duty, maybe if you would have talked to me a month back, I could have said, like, there is a possibility, or there should be a possibility. Today, I don't see that with the data which I am having access to, that intent of the farmer or sowing of lentils. I would be very cautious of putting any duty upfront. And in past, government has already bought lentils which were imported lentils. So there is no reason, in case they have to take care of roughly 1.2 or 1.3 million metric tons of our farmer buying their lentils, they can buy it on MSP. So at the same time, like, having the tap open for, we already have, if I'm not wrong, 10% duty on lentil currently. Yes. I think it would be overstretched looking for government to put any more duties as of now. But again, as you know, that actually, like, we are already having a BR election, so I don't see anything happening at least till 14th of November. By that time, actually, they'll get back on the drawing board, and God has been kind that actually sometimes I do hear things from all around, right? Which I'm saying that God has been kind that those type of information do come to me. And I don't think, like, government is in too much of hurry of putting duty. Going back to Deepak bhai, like, when we have talked about lentils, I would also connect the dot on yellow peas, right? Because yellow peas is also, though I have not kept it in my SND because we were not tracking it, frankly. Like, only last, we track it as a, like, a stepney. So you drive a car with 4-wheel, but actually, like, you don't check your stepney whether it is there or not till you actually need it, right? So yellow peas for us is the stepney, and I've been always a very strong views that actually there was no reason for us to open yellow peas. But at the same time, like, once it is open, I think, like, the drive is so far so good for the consumer. Why not to go a little bit longer? Your views on, like, how do you see the production? Because, like, Canada has been producing a lot of yellow peas, and you also look at Black Sea region. There also we are suddenly seeing that, crazy numbers, 5 million metric tons from Russia coming up, and, like, another similar, I think, like, 4.5 million or odd being talked about from Canada. Now that's big numbers, right? If we see 10 million metric tons just coming from two specific regions, right? And while I'm pretty sure also that, India is not going to be getting dumped, right? This all news of dumping is going to happen in India. If we don't need, we won't buy it. And I don't think, like, those who will be pushing too much of yellow peas here, they'll burn their hand. They have done it in past, and welcome, do it again, right? Be my guest, right? I would be okay if somebody is creating a buffer of a couple of million metric tons of pulses in my country without me spending a single taxpayer's money. I'm more than happy to be part of it. Your views on these crazy numbers? Are these numbers gonna be really so high?
So, Deepakji, as I said first about that Canada observed a year of huge, I mean, I would say, record production this year. The same goes with yellow peas also. So Canada, because it's a leguminous crop and they don't have too many options. And then when we look at the gross margins, so farmers have planted more against the general belief that, because of the yellow peas price were under pressure, so they will not grow, but they have planted more. And we have seen huge, record yields. So when you talk about the production in Canada, I'm talking about only yellow peas, we talk about something close to 3 million tons of yellow peas production, and with a carry of close to 600,000 tons. So we talk about total supplies of 3.6 million tons. Now, this is Canada. Now, on the other side, as you said about the Black Sea, On Black Sea, Russia, yes, people there has been various estimates, but my estimate would be close to 4.5 million tons. Russia is predominantly yellow peas, and but there is a little like a challenge in Russia that the north part, or basically what you call the CBS area, the northern region, so where they produce close to maybe 1.2 to 1.5 million tons. So those areas are not easily accessible. Yes, some of the peas from there go to China. Otherwise, mainly the southern area, from there it comes. But yes, you talk about the peas prices and the production 4.5. Then we always forget, like, we talk about Russia. We forget Ukraine most of the time. So Ukraine also has seen huge production this year. When I say huge production, like from 400,000, they have gone to almost like 700,000 tons. Do not just forget these two areas, because these two areas, they supply to the nearby markets. So this year, the production in the whole of EU, which produces about 2 to 2.5 million tons, that is also great. So in countries Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, Hungary, these all countries, they are observing greater production this year. You might have seen that. That's why the demand for feed peas in Europe has also come down. So this is on the supply side. Now, when it comes to the demand, coming back to Canada, so Canada's primarily, like, there are two major markets, India and China. So I would put China first, but like this year in March 2025, like China put 100% tariffs on Canadian peas, so which has reduced the demand from China. And secondly, there has been a case of anti-dumping duty on pea protein made by China into North America, especially US and Canada. So that has basically reduced the demand of North American peas into China, because they supply the same byproduct into these markets. So it has a spiraling effect. And what it has happened, like, so I have seen, like, the demand from China has really, really gone down. Now, China used to be a market of about 1.4 to 1.5 million tons of peas put together. Now, the breakup was like 5 years ago, when Russia was not a supplier. So Canada used to supply almost like 90% of China's requirements. But if you see the trend in last 2 years, it has been like 50-50. So Russia has grown to almost 50% of the market into China. And Canada was roughly supplying 750 to maximum 800,000 tons of peas too. Now, this year, when you ask me, we have hardly seen few shipments. China is still buying, but only under license, where they are allowed to make for starch or some of these byproducts. So that's duty free. But their production, we would say, like, if you ask me what I can expect the whole year, maybe maximum 200,000 tons. So from 800,000 tons to just 200,000 tons, we're talking about just 25% of their annual demand, unless they reduce the duty, or they do some changes. Coming back to India, from the Canadian side, Canada, if India does not buy Canadian peas, then Canada does not have that type of market. Yes, we talk about Bangladesh, we talk about Pakistan, we talk about, America. All these countries put together would not make up to even 1 million tons. So where the cargo will go? So that's why you have seen right now, I've seen a vessel like line up, so close to about 350,000 tons of Canadian peas is coming to India in a matter of about a month's time or so. But then after that, there is a gap. There will be no lineup of vessels. I don't see the demand. Like, so it started with a good, like, bang, like you see, because we start our year in the month of August. And then after that, you will not see any shipments coming up. This is so, on the demand side, it looks very, very bleak unless China opens up, unless India shows demand. You might have seen, Deepak ji, and you will agree with me that for the first time we have seen Canadian prices traded less than Russian prices, Russian yellow peas prices. I don't know. I've heard of the prices around 290 or less than 290 CIF basis. I've never heard in my life, like, something like these prices in last 5 to 7 years of, that.
In fact, by the trade has
So,
happened at 275 also.
sir, possible. But that's not. But that's not a this the trade might have happened, but that's not a realistic number, because here the
It is
FOB
not.
is
It is
close to
not.
2.5,
It is
250
not.
to $260. So the point we are trying to say is, there's a huge supply. You talk about Canada, you talk about Russia, you talk about Ukraine. So there was a time like, Ukraine used to be a supplier of World Food Program and Turkey and those areas, but still now they're asking. 2 months ago, I was told by a couple of Ukrainian farmers that, oh, our prices will cross to 350 and will do, and we don't have this. Now I see the prices are coming close to 300. People are asking for bids. So that shows the demand is less, the prices are falling, there is a pressure on the prices. So coming back to this, sir, so there is a news where the government of Canada is doing a lot with government of China. They are trying to work out a mechanism where China comes back to the market. If China comes back, then definitely there will be a stability in the prices in Canada. But if China does not come back, then from January, I personally believe that there will be more pressure on prices, especially on Canadian peas. With regards to next 1 and 2 months, I don't see too much movement coming out of Canada because all the harvest has gone into the bins. So the farmers will not be in a rush to sell anything. The type of prices which you just said, like 275, 290, I don't think we will see these prices for next 2 months. But India does not require also because they already have stocks. Plus, we have already discussed a lot of other products are coming. Tuar is coming. You have chana coming. You have so many other products coming. So this in general sums up the supply and demand situation. I don't know about the duty, whether India closes or not closes. But if India closes or puts, let's say, if India increases tariff on yellow peas, then it will be detrimental for these suppliers. Whether it is Russia or Canada, the prices will be under more pressure then.
No, I totally agree. The best case scenario for Canada is that actually, irrespective of demand is there or not, at least there is no duty and restriction, right? So that at least gives a hope. And if India puts any duty or any demand, then actually, the prices go up here. But at the same time, our hit would also be there in Canada, right? It's not
Yes.
going to happen that the 30% duty is there that actually only our consumer are going to take that 30% hit. It is going to happen that maybe we take 15%, 15% will be passed on down the line. And as you have shared with me that the condition for Canada as an options are very limited, right? So that also would push the buyers here, the importers here, to pass on as much as burden as possible of duties to Canadian exporters. Now I'll go to another. In fact, I think from India side, Ankush bhai, if you are there, do you want to comment on yellow peas saga? In fact,
Yellow,
sir,
yellow piece
I
saga.
have to return a chronology of yellow peas, right? इस पे एक novel लिख सकते हैं अच्छी सी.
Right. Deepak bhai, I agree with Deepak bhai from Canadian perspective and the Russian perspective. So there are a few things onto it. One, I think we have seen these kind of numbers back in 2016-17 when we started with the numbers like 290 to 85 kind of safe numbers from Canada to India. But I tell you, there's only, apart from the numbers which Deepak Rawatji have shared, there's only one disagreement. Only one disagreement is that, let's say if government of India comes up with any new policy change, right? Maybe a duty or the quantity restriction, or I don't know, overall restriction. But let's say duty for the time being, which is being discussed a lot in the market these days. And every passing day, every day 5 o'clock, we all see that whether there is a notification coming or not, because randomly, if you hear from anyone, 1% out of all the community participants, one would be saying that today it will come. Today is the day. Tomorrow is the day, and with full surety and full networking, right? But let me just try to give you a perspective on the numbers as well as on the impact on the duty for an Indian importer. Today, considering 290 as a CNF number, the market converts it to be about 28 rupees per kg. Whereas today the market is trading at about 32.50, which means 32.550 rupees per kg as a number from yellow peas, which is approximately 15% over the parity today, which means 15% of the duty impact, potential duty impact, is already been taken care by the market today. Secondly, there are extremely limited trades which are happening today, largely because of the fear of duty. Whether it will be 30%, 50%, someone says 30 plus 10%, which is 33%, then someone says 50%, someone says MIP. Since because of those rumors, and in fact in the recent days we have seen one of the videos also wherein there was a discussion that probably there'll be a certain duty will come on yellow peas. So because of that fear, people are not really willing to invest, and because of that, not really investment in yellow peas, the cargoes are not getting traded. If duty will come, I believe there'll be a lot more trade which will happen as compared to today, because then there'll be a lot of certainty will happen, and that certainty is one thing which we need today. Despite of 290 or $300, no trade is happening out of Canada. The farmer is still holding the crop. The farmer has to or had to eventually put the cargoes in the bin. But if the duty or any certainty will come, either the government should come and say, boss, I will not put any restrictions. You please live with this. Or they come and say, boss, it's a 30% duty. Any certainty will bring more trade flows into India. This is what I can see. Last year we had imported 3.8 million ton. This time we are sitting at hardly 350,000 tons of 350,000 ton of cargoes into India and another 350,000 ton of cargoes on the water. So it's hardly anything as compared to what we have seen in the last year. Prices have almost dropped by 20%. Last year we were trading at about 38, 39 rupees per kg. Today we are trading at 31, 32 rupees per kg. It's only because of the uncertainty in the market. The same thing which we are seeing in lentils also. Both Jay and Deepak have said that they are sitting with the biggest crop, or I would say one of the big crops in Australia and Canada. But are we seeing that kind of a trade flow into India? No. Why? Largely because of the uncertainty which Indian importer is facing today, and moreover the kind of financial impacts which Indian trader has seen over the past 2 years. They are left with no blood in their body. They are left with no
Ankush
blood.
bhai, let me just give a little bit perspective here.
Yeah.
Sir, the problem is that actually Indian trade is thinking of right with the hope. Government signals are very clear, right? They came out, they said that 2026. If I would have agreed with you, initially what they were doing, that extension for 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, right? July, there is a gentleman and a group of gentlemen who said that duty aa rahi hai. ये कहानी वहां से चालू हुई, ठीक है? And those gentlemen, July first week they do it, August first week they do it, September first week they do it, October first week they do it. सर सरकार तो एक्चुअली ऐसा कुछ बोल ही नहीं रही है. सरकार ने तो ड्यूटी बड़ा क्लियर कर दिया है कि 2026 से बात करेंगे. Now, until and unless there is an emergency, government can take that decision. See, these indications, right, are being, I'm saying uncertainties. Sorry, I'm also from a well-wisher of trade community. इसलिए मैं हर बार स्पीक खुद आके ना अपने ग्रुप पे बोलता हूँ. I am not hearing anything. Please trade with caution, right? उसका रीजन यही होता है. Uncertainty is being created by our own fellows, right? Our group fellows. Government said, tell me one thing, except one statement which was put out of context somewhere, right? Of where the minister said that हम येलो पीस को रिस्ट्रिक्ट मतलब फ्री फ्लो रोकेंगे और उसके लिए जीओएम के अंदर डिसीजन लेंगे. ओनली वन स्टेटमेंट इज द गवर्नमेंट, दैट्स ऑल. दैट टू वाज इन जुलाई. ठीक है. उसके बाद गवर्नमेंट हैज नॉट गिवन अ सिंगल स्टेटमेंट फेवरिंग, गोइंग अगेंस्ट, ओपनिंग, क्लोजिंग. कोई स्टेटमेंट इज नॉट कम फ्रॉम द गवर्नमेंट. द स्टेटमेंट इज ओनली कमिंग फ्रॉम विद इन द इंटरनल trade groups, right? And everybody passing on buck to each other. So the uncertainty has been created by trade, not the government, right? So डर के आगे जीत है. That is what I'm saying. जयेश भाई, your views on that, sir? Actually, yellow piece, ये ना इसके ऊपर एक novel लिखूंगा sir मैं actually, you as a producer, I'll be director.
And nothing, I think I go with what Deepak Bhai and Ankush has said. Strongly, I also agree with the visibility. I would say the uncertainty rather than the visibility, if it's being there, perhaps the trade could happen. But I think the only thing is that government either probably if they can come up with the some specific policy for the yellow peas, then I think they don't really need to regulate any other policies. And that could make the life easy for the traders, make the life easy for the government, and also for the thing. As you also been advocating no for the yellow peas also the imports, and I strongly also believe to the same thing. There should not be a thing at all if the requirement is being there. Government should channel probably through their own PSU, and stabilize it.
G2G करके ले लो sir. If there is a requirement, we see that there is price, go do G2G. Otherwise, like क्या जरूरत है sir? We
Yeah,
are
through
and sir,
they used to do these things in the past. The
right.
MMTCP used to import the thing, another thing. But
But the
otherwise,
trade only
yes,
went, the trade only went and got it opened, right?
I think as you rightly said, that the mistake is not from the government side. The mistake is largely from the trading community. We only speculate more rather than I think the government doesn't say that you import 3.5 million tons of the yellow peas. They have just opened the thing. It is the decision lies with us how much we need to import.
Sir, 4 पहुंच गया अब तो sir 3.5 भी नहीं तो 4 पहुंच गया sir. There is 4 million metric ton. So now I'll go to
whatever the numbers are there.
now when we have discussed yellow peas, Taib bhai आप लेते हैं क्या yellow peas in Pakistan? Do you import?
Yes, Deepak bhai, we do around 150,000 to 200,000 tons yellow peas, and currently, as we speak, we have actually 3 vessels in the pipeline, one from Russia, 2 from Canada, and this year yellow peas to some extent has substituted for chickpeas, not to the extent it is done in India. With Ramadan coming, we will see some more demand, but unfortunately, we bought at very high levels, 349, 341, and now with the market around 290, so the replacement cost is much cheaper. Still, the spot market is decent. It's 104, 105, but at 349, it costs around 108. So the traders will lose a little bit. We are hopeful that one vessel might get washed out, and the same supplier most probably will sell at a lower rate with a washout difference paid to support him. So that working is going on. We have demand for roughly one vessel for every 2 months or every 2.5 months, and I think it will continue, especially with the Chinese ban on Canadian yellow peas. We foresee the prices might go a bit lower. A lot of course, is dependent on the Indian movie scene of yellow peas, which is going on, the saga, as you say, because every day we hear the duty is coming, duty is not coming. So we are also waiting in anticipation for you people to make a decision, because that will affect what level we will also buy at.
That by say government has made a decision, sir. That's why I always tell people 31st March 2026.
Yes.
Right? We are hoping against our hope, right? That
Yeah.
aa jayega kuch to, right?
Huh.
So again, what
Yes.
I'm saying that generally, see, any government can put any restriction, duty, because Trump saab to every day morning he gets up and he puts 100% duty straight away. He doesn't even talk
Correct.
about small duties, right? So we know we live in a volatile situation, but I think the government has given a very clear signal, right? Until and unless we see some trouble happening, right? And I am not able to visualize that trouble so far. If you ask me, November, I might visualize the troubles, assuming that because the harvest season would be there, government might for 3, 4, 5 months, they should. Again, I'm hoping. I'm not saying government is going to do that. I'm hoping to safeguard farmers for 4 months, they can put a ban on all the pulses, right? I would love that situation. Okay, that
Correct.
3 months for Kharif and 2 months for Rabi, 5 months we should ban import, right? And after that, 100% open. That is my actually very radical views. Maybe not too many people will like it. But Hiten bhai, your views, sir, duty, yellow peas?
I've been away from the speculative, these kind of speculations since the day one when I started business. Till it is uploaded on the website, then only I put it to groups and my people in my network. Before that, and like you said, if government had already made a decision and it's been March, it has to be have to have a very strong reason to actually then change it. And what reason does government have to change it? I don't know.
Yeah, even I'm struggling to find the reason, but I think except for maybe because sir, actually the most impacted commodity of because of yellow peas is chickpeas, right? And the prices of chickpeas has been like when we compare to be like below MSP percentage for the very minimal period of time and very minimal deviation. We have seen of MSP versus chickpeas price, market price. So now coming to chickpeas, like let me share like what numbers we are having. So globally, we are looking at, again, this high number of 2025 production is because due to Australia. Till 2022, Australia was hardly, or 2023, Australia was hardly producing anything, roughly 500,000 metric tons max. And then 2024, 25, because of reduction in duty from 50% to hardly zero or no duty, right? Again, we have put in 10% duty, but it is very, I'd say, minuscule. But so again, we are seeing 2024 and 2025, Australia producing substantial amount of chickpeas. So again, in chickpea also, like, we are having pretty decent supply situation of roughly 14.69 million metric ton, because India's rabi crop seems to be good this year. And again, consumption 12.79. We are seeing that improvement in consumption is going to happen, and that takes you to India. So India, we are having a carry of hardly 700,000 metric tons of chickpeas, production of roughly 10.10, which is nearly like 600,000 tons more than the previous year, and that's why we see that imports to reduce, and supply again on a pretty decent side, 11.45, consumption around 10.3, as good as last year, and export very minuscule, because basin export has increased in India, and ending stock of roughly a million metric ton is what we are expecting. And again, the arrival of next Australian crop will start, so we see that the price remain to be pretty range bound. Crop size in Australia is large, estimated to be 2.3 million metric tons, which might see 0.5 MMT getting exported to India till March 2026. Now, post March, then actually a lot of factors will play in, but that how much we import. Tanzanian crop was also larger this year because of good realization as compared to pigeon pea and chickpeas being short duration crop. The acreage has seen an increase. So non-availability and high retail price has led to switch to yellow peas or demand destruction, which might not fully recover, as yellow peas are currently also at a huge discount. Global production of desi chickpeas anticipated to be 30.70 MMT, with India leading with 10.1, Australia around 2.3, and rest of the world contributing another 1.3 MMT, including Pakistan and Turkey. So with that, I would go to Jay Bhai. Jay Bhai, your views, sir. बहुत उगा दिया आपने हमारे लिए. We are so happy.
Well, I think chickpeas is always predominantly only grown for India perspective. So if India shuts down the border, obviously the production capacity or the production volume will reduce dramatically. So the number that you saw previously, which when India was not open, was only reason being that the demand was not there. And actually in that time we had some crop issue as well with the rain. This last year and this year, surprisingly, we've had a very, very nice weather conditions. The subsoil moisture was very good. It was perfect for sowing. I don't think the Australian farmers could have had a better weather condition, moisture level, heat, temperature, or anything that you would really require to grow chickpeas better than this year. So they've had every single possibility of having everything that can go right has gone right from the chickpeas perspective, from growing point of view. Australian farmers obviously anticipated that last year they had sold at a very, very record prices, going almost up to $800-900 USD for CFR prices. Although the prices had started to slowly come down, there was a sudden bump in middle around June, July, during harvest or during sowing time, that Pakistan came in to buy, and then the prices went up again by a few dollars. So it went up, and that made Australian farmers also continue to have the expectation that India will buy, and India will buy as much as they bought last year. As last year, none of these Australian farmers actually suffered any losses. The loss that was suffered was predominantly by the traders and the trading community, as well as the Indian importers. And no one, so hence the Australian farmers did not lose any money for their crop. And this year they anticipated that they will probably have the same level of demand coming in from India and the subcontinent, which is the reason why they went ahead and did production and did the acreage increased by 3 to 4%. So we have an acreage, we have a sowing of almost 1 million tons, 1 million plus hectares, with the yield anticipation, even though Abaris has anticipated the yield to be about 1.9 on a very conservative manner. We personally see that the numbers are going to be pretty high. It could go up to close to 2.3, 2.4, even 2.5. And at some areas, it even can touch 3.5, 4 metric tons per hectare as well. Our numbers from 2.5 in 2.3 is a very, very conservative number, in my opinion. I think it is only going to slowly, steadily start climbing as and when the weather sustains the way it is currently. It is harvest has already started from the northern Queensland region, which the shipments have already started. Bulk vessel for October is also already planned or had already been going to be executed in October, first week November. So the crop from the northern Queensland CQ, which we say is supposedly one of the best chickpeas in Australia, has already harvested and has already started to be exported. Numbers has already reduced dramatically from price point of view. It's almost 30-40% reduction compared to last year. But again,
Jay, just a small intervention here. So first of all, I totally agree that 1.13 million hectares was sown, and it could very close to be more than 2.5 to 2.6 million metric ton as well. That's a 100% possibility. Now, when you talk about we have not seen the numbers as last year, right? I have a little bit of challenge there, right? The people are very smart to book $920 post Diwali shipments, right? Now
So-
that is an outlier, right? So I think
I understand.
Price.
The price point
so
of
I
control
think
saying
this
that
is a good price. If we were
Absolutely.
doing balance sheet analysis for the farmer of Australia, and we
Yeah.
found that even current price, it is a good price actually for the farmers. They're still making
Agreed,
money. But yes,
agreed.
920 is like, it's a jackpot, but you don't get jackpot every year.
Agreed. So what I'm trying to say is the reason that's why you're not seeing a lot of cargo coming into supply or where people have started selling a lot is also because Australian farmers haven't been selling, and they thought if you're not going to get 900, I might as well sell when at harvest rather than selling upfront. So they haven't sold a lot of cargo, and they are going to they're going to start selling in harvest. Harvest is going to happen in the next 10 days, literally 10 to 15 days, and you will see a lot of cargo coming into the market around in 15 days. So prices at these levels are also good numbers for Australian farmers to make money, undoubtedly. But how much are you used to having something which you have received in the past to suddenly say, no, I'm not going to receive now this, I'm going to change and I'm going to have to readjust myself? It takes a little bit longer, which they are kind of seeing that, and they have started to kind of accept it. And you can see the prices have come down to below $500 and $450 to November, December shipments to India and the subcontinent already. So that number of 450, 500, again, I feel very comfortable trading. I don't feel any kind of a risk appetite management problem there. And it's a good, like I said, it is a good for the trading community. It's good for the consumption market. It's good for the industry that we are in. Again, Australian farmers, yes, they're still making money. Are they making too much money or not enough money? That is a perceptive that they have to decide. But yes, we will have a really large crop. We will have a good crop. We are having a large crop. And I don't know what are we going to do if India is not going to buy. I constantly keep asking. And
No. See, India buy. What I was just referring is that the demand would not be that robust, right? So I don't see that actually any restriction happening to the tune which we have seen in the past. Only thing is that because our own crop would be decent, so like anything after March, when our harvest start coming in, then that actually the flow would not be as it was in the past. And second, Jema, if you can recall, last year we had a talk just before, on this 920. I said,
Yeah.
I don't know actually, who are those intelligent people? I'm not able to find them. Otherwise, I would have asked them not to do it. And that is what has happened, unfortunately.
Absolutely. But again, India will buy 500,000 tons. We are growing about 2.5 million tons. Give the rest of the world, everybody else take 1 million tons. We'll still be having 1 million ton carryover if India doesn't buy. Right. So that's a lot of significant amount of stock to be keeping in bin. Australian farmers will probably not have that much capacity to hold 1 million tons for a long period of time. So there is a possibility that we might see some kind of a distress situation coming in if there is not continuous supply. India's only started coming in to buy last 15, 20 days to a month back. There is regular flow of trades happening, but again, it's not that significant as it will make any difference to the trade. We probably would have done maybe about 700,000 tons or 600,000 to 700,000 tons of entire sales so far. So we are still looking at another million and a half at least for having for the rest of the year. So let's see how this whole situation comes in. But the harvest is coming in, knocking on our door in the next 10 to 15 days.
Maybe Teb can help you. Teb, how much you'll buy?
Pakistan is historically we've been buying 300 to 400,000 tons, depending on our own crop size. Our total consumption is around 700,000 tons, and normally our over the past 3 years, our crop has been somewhere between 250 to 350,000. So maximum 350, 400, in which we've already bought 180,000 tons. And, we bought at very expensive rates. So again, some request is coming out to wash them out. That is not happening. The only disturbing factor which I see from the numbers you gave, because everyone in Pakistan was anticipating India will buy a million, 1.2 million, but you are showing only 650,000 tons. So that is a sort of disappointment for all of us over here in Pakistan. And secondly, because we were all banking on that for the bullishness. Secondly, I would like to ask, with your permission, from Jay, how much can the Australian farmers, you think, store? I've heard that they've got good holding power. So our assumption is that they can hold at least 500,000 tons without any issues. But is there a higher side to that, or that too is a very optimistic assumption? Because if India is going to be 650, Pakistan 350, Bangladesh, Dubai maybe 250, and let's say 500,000 to Australian farmers, we're still left with close to 700,000 to 1,000,000 tons. Where will that cargo go, and what will that do to the prices? Is something which is very worrisome.
See, definitely the Australian farmers can hold, right? But if I was a farmer and I'm like to see why am I
Right.
holding? Is there a future for this cargo that I can see
Correct.
coming up? Right. So that's
Correct.
another conversation that I will be raising. Today, if I'm getting a price which is still making money for me,
Yeah.
I am going to sell a lot of it. I will definitely
Correct.
hold for the next season, and they have always anticipated that come July or
Correct.
come after
Correct.
India season is finished, July, August, September, the market again picks up, and that's probably when they will try and keep it for that period of time as well. 500,000 tons, I think that is safe. That's definitely that they can hold, not a problem. Maybe 600, maybe 700. But this year we're going to have record crop in wheat. We're going to have a record crop in lentils. We're going to have record crop in fava beans, barley, canola. How much
Right.
storage can we have, right? We have to sell something. And it's not that everything is making money. Everything is at a lower price level. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at lower price level, but they're having a better yield, which is still giving them a good rate of return for their per hectare per sowing hectare situation. So it's not that they are suffering. It is just that they're not making enough money to what they have been making enough, right? So they will definitely sell. Will they sell wheat first? Will they sell chickpeas first? They have to sell something or the other. So they will sell, at least in my anticipation, or at least from the few farmers that I've spoken, they will sell 50% of their chickpeas no matter what.
Okay.
And then slowly and steadily, they will keep selling in anticipation that towards the end, when the vessel is being short, they might want to get a few sneaking in cargo here and there for a higher price. They might those kind of things. So they'll try their luck every year here and there based on the vessels. India will buy. India is buying. India has only bought how many? A few vessels. I don't even know how many would be planned in. But again, it is something that it will make a big difference. Now, India buying is very constantly, it's a synonyms to what yellow peas situation is happening. Yellow peas is it's become many ways a direct replacement for chickpeas, as we did not anticipate the years before, but we have seen in the last 1 year that has been a direct replacement. Now that direct replacement is also a very key factor, having something which is 29 rupees versus coming to have something which is 55, 60 rupees. Where are you going to see the valuation, right? People are going to go towards that direction. It's not that all of a sudden Indians have started making double the money. They have lost a lot of money in the last. Number two, the biggest issue that we are facing is who is going to buy? Where are the stockists?
That's the thing.
Other people who are going to import. At the end of the day, the consumption is required by the country, but who is going to be the other side who's going to import and take the risk of the market not supporting and burning the money? So that's a bigger question to ask for every product at the moment. It's not the price anymore. It is becoming a trade equation, whereas who is the other side who is going to be taking the risk to buy? And that's
Jay bhai, let me get you the other side. Ankush bhai, how much you are buying? Are you buying DCP?
Ankush bhai has not called me this year once also, so it's clear that he's buying nothing.
Hi, Jay.
Ankush bhai, views on the
So
chickpea?
I tell you, sure, Deepak bhai. So one thing is very sure, Deepak ji, I think this year India would definitely need at least 1 million to 1.5 million ton of chickpeas for sure. One, because I think the sowing is delayed by at least a month because of the extreme weather situation which we have seen in the past 1 month. The sowing is delayed. The crop as compared to the last year is, let's say, overall in India situation is tighter. But one of the biggest situation which we are seeing today is what Jay has mentioned now. Who is going to buy? Who is going to invest money for this trade? Let's say if anyone who's sitting on a trade desk today, if one has to buy 50,000 ton of a vessel from Australia, with what confidence one should buy, right? That is the biggest question today. Because last year, the way the prices have crashed in just 1 or 2 months, it was very unexpected. People have lost huge money. Not only chickpeas, be it yellow peas, be it lentils, be it pigeon peas, be it black mat pay, commodity after commodity, people have lost money. So everyone is, let's say, well equipped to run the SNDs, well equipped to evaluate the shortness in the market, tightness in the market. But very few people are left who have money to invest in this trade, and that is where I believe your number, which is 650K, is well apt. And that is also quite reflective in a way that hardly 150,000 ton has been traded by now. Last year, at this point in time from India, Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, last at this point in time, I think we would have already bought more than 800,000 ton to 900,000 ton.
Easy.
Right. And now at this point in time, it's hardly 150,000 ton, not more than 3 or 4 vessels. Right. So sitting in October, mid of October, 4 to 5 vessels into India is almost negligible. So I think we are going to see the spot demands. So people who will be ready with the spot exports out of Australia will be able to, let's say, manage and those who will be able to manage the logistics will have a trade in their hand. Otherwise, farmers, logistics people, traders, they will start moving their interest from exporting chickpeas towards wheat, because at least wheat trade flow is active. So whatever global S&D which Deepakji you have shared, wherein you are showing 1.9 million ton of carry out, probably the important point is that where this carrier is going to reside. This time, I think that location is going to be Australia, because in India and Pakistan, because everywhere short S&D is tight. People are looking to buy some quantities, but people do not have enough capital, let's say capital to invest and intent to invest. That is where I think people are losing this trade flow this time. And again, I would expect, I think, in the next 10-15 days, more and more trades gradually will start moving toward the spot trades, which will be November, December shipment, October, November shipment, and then November, December, and then December, January. So that's how I think people should be ready with their logistics to export spot. Forward trade will be limited this year. And we may not be really in a position to import more than 500,000 ton to 750K. However, we would be needing to import at least 1 million to 1.5 million ton. So we have a equal pressure. When we look at from a India S&D perspective, we see that there is a shortage. When we look at Australia, we see a bumper crop. But when we look at us as a trader sitting somewhere in Singapore, somewhere in middle, we do not see any margins to make, and we do not see any returns for a trader to invest today. And that is what is really holding the overall trade flow.
Right.
And
So with that, we would be.
It's also for lentils.
Yeah.
It's also for other products. Everything, and hence, as Ankush said, the trade is going to move towards wheat sooner than later, because wheat is immediate shipments. There's a lot of regularity, and it continues to happen, right? And there's no speculation there. Comparatively.
But tomorrow, in fact, Java, we are doing wheat and grains tomorrow, and rest assured, wheat is also going to spring a lot of surprises this year. This year, all the commodities are like is making life very interesting for people like us who are following a lot of commodities. So what previously used to happen is that actually only one basket or one or two commodity used to play like funny, but this year from soybean to wheat to rice to nearly all pulses. Right, everybody is giving like pretty challenging time for us. So from 14 hours a day, my work has increased to 18 hours a day. Tracking otherwise, gehu chawal used to give us like that comfort tea. It is going to grow by 1%, 2% here and there. Even they are putting a lot of challenges. Just a last question, Jay, what would be the current CIF prices for yellow peas and lentils Australia origin? Because some of the participants they're asking that question.
So yellow peas will come from Canada, not from Australia. Chickpeas.
Oh, sorry. Lentils and chickpeas.
So lentil chickpeas is almost right now almost the same levels. They are all around that $500 CIF Indian subcontinent, depending on the shipment period. So if you're looking at October, November, it'll be about 490 to 500 for chickpeas, which is again, we're talking about spot trades, and November, December for lentils, which will be around the same levels, around at $500. So
Perfect.
there is,
Yeah. So Deepak bhai, your number, sir, yellow peas, lentils, and yellow peas and lentils, in fact, these two.
Yeah. So Deepakji, here in Canada, the prices what we discussed, 270, 290 range, I don't think they will be available after a couple of weeks. Once that the positions have been liquidated, then we might see these close to 300 levels after post January. But for next 2 months, I don't see you will have these type of price ranges. With regards to red lentils are pretty much close to 500 level mark in line with the Australian prices. I'm talking about the bulk vessel side, but it doesn't matter. Like so 500, maybe another red lentils. I may see a little bit of more depression, but from January onwards, not now. At least for next 2 months, I don't see, because Australia is gonna have their own challenges in terms of shipping out. Which I think Jay will agree. The huge quantities in next 1 or 2 months.
yeah,
So the
so our
pressure
harvest
and then
is also
closer to
quite
Indian
delayed.
crop.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
So I said our
Yeah.
harvest is also delayed in certain areas of Australia for
Yes.
lentils. So that's going to push the pressure to be shipping predominantly everything in December, which is not going to be that much comparatively.
Because
Shyam
Deepakji, the
bhai,
important thing will
yeah,
be the important thing will be to see the prices in January when we are closer to Indian Rabi harvest, when we have the full supply pressure from Australia, when we have the harvest of Indian Kharif crop totally known, like what happened with Tur, what happened with Urad. I think in January we will have a very clear picture on how it pans out in next few months in terms of prices, whether it is desi or lentils or yellow peas.
yeah. So Sunilji, would you like to comment on what would be the current CFR prices for black mape and pigeon pea, origin from Myanmar? So you're on mute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
please.
Bitmape, the current range bound is between 675 to 750. That's the range we are expecting for FAQ, and SQ, the premium is between 70 to 80, depend on the demand. And for pigeon peas, like last 1 week, market went up by $70, but the correct price for pigeon peas will be between, say, 700 to 750 again.
Perfect. Jesh bhai, you would like to add anything on the price part from Africa?
No, we are end of the trade now in Africa. I think 80% trade has happened. We do not have a long inventory to trade now. But I think the current range is around 580 to 600. That's what is going around at the moment,
That is
depending on.
Arusha variety or
No, Arusha
Mozambique
is
white?
slightly high, slightly higher, I think. As I said,
Perfect.
the most of the trade on Mozambique white, Arusha is already done. So there is nothing much
Right.
left.
Perfect. So with this, thanks a lot to all the gentlemen being part of it. I think audience got a good understanding of how the pulses sector would be, and we
One
have
thing, sorry,
please,
one thing I want to
please,
just
Jay.
to the add for the thing. I think what the Ankush has said very well, and in fact the Jaiba has said very well. The short term, actually, if you look at the demand supply point of view, the supply situation is a bit tight compared to the looking at the new harvest coming from India. I think that should give a lot of comfort to the trading committee.
Perfect.
So
I totally agree. Only we'll have to find money for taking care of that demand, which is going to be emerging. Yes, that there is a shortfall for sure. India is always looking for more pulses, and the demand is going to go only up. And I take a point from Jesh bhai, which was he started with, where he said that actually, as a community of trading in pulses, we should look at how do we push for more demand, right? We have been talking a lot about the prices, the trade challenges, the duties, and all that. I think it is a time we also start looking at how do we create more demand, and that will take our industry to a higher level. With that, I would like to thank all of you, and specifically Jayesh bhai and all my sponsors. So Bengani Group, Bajrang International, MEIR, MEIR Commodity and Praramb, because actually, like, so far we have never raised any sponsorship. But first time we have done that because we thought, like, I can fund it to the level. Actually, that we have been part of KYC group and all that. We are putting a lot of money in from estimate to all those things. It was time that actually look at the community to see that actually do they want to support. And definitely people like Jayesh Bhai and Alok ji and all that and Meher Bhai all came in and they supported. Thanks a lot for all your support. Really appreciate it.